Palestinian people?
Well, it made all the difference. It led to this division because in their effort, in Israel's effort, and the U.S. and the UN and even the Quartet efforts to undermine the outcome of the elections of 2006, they tried to strengthen the Fatah faction at the expense of Palestinian unity. And what happened in 2007 was there was a lot of politics that were involved. Even Condoleezza Rice was involved in meetings with heads of Mukhabarat, the intelligence, to plot these things. And again, the same scenarios, the same thing comes back again. Look at the reports now from the Egyptian sources talking about the meetings of Hamad Dahlan with the Israeli counterparts to discuss the plan now. It all plays out.
Foreign Minister.
Yeah. If I can just go back, what went to.
I want to bring Courtney into this conversation, though. Courtney, I mean, given the political situation in the United States and the way that this struggle and the situation has been framed, a lot of people would say, well, you're taking aid to Gaza, you must be a fan of Hamas. You must be a supporter of this outlaw regime. Why did you choose, A, to do the action that you did, to try to take the aid, and to risk that kind of, I don't know, getting that kind of reputation?
Well, first of all, I've been interested in Palestine, Gaza since I was younger. I've known a lot of people that have gone there and seen, the wall, and I experienced people talking to me at World Social Forum about that. And I was horrified, and then I got this opportunity. My mom called me, and she was like, you want to go on a boat to Gaza? And Free Gaza is not, it wasn't so much for humanitarian aid as for human rights. We really went there to make a point.
So when you thought about this choice that you're making, what did you think about this relationship of the Gaza people to
Hamas? It wasn't a question of, because as far as I understand, the politics are ever changing everywhere we go, in every different country. And for me, it was more seeing that there's a lot of people there outside of just Hamas. Let's look at all of the people. Maybe they don't all believe in Hamas. Maybe they don't. We don't know where a nation's politics stands. But I know there's a lot of children there, more than 50%. And it was more that there's people suffering.
And what happened when you tried to bring this shipment of aid?
We have
some video too.
Yeah, we have some video. The video is actually after we left. But we were repeatedly harassed. We were actually harassed, I think, by Israeli tourists while we were still in Greece. And we finally got close, and they threatened to, I think, sink our ship and then arrest us. And we just kept going because we never saw them, and they let us through. And I think they let us through because that made more of a point.
And once you got to Gaza, what did you find?
Thousands among thousands of people waiting for us. The most amazing introduction to a country I've ever gotten. And very welcoming people. And everyone thanked us for coming. And a lot of younger people I found came up to me and they're like, I just had no idea anyone in America knew. Anyone cared. Anyone could see our situation. We'd feel so isolated. So it was...
The reason that I'm focusing to some extent on this humanitarian situation in Gaza and the blockade is it seems so basic, both to the relationship of the people of Gaza to Hamas and to the current situation, and yet it's pretty often left out of the story of this crisis as we're watching it right now. Adam, when you think about the relationship between Hamas and the people of Gaza and their isolation and their humanitarian needs, how do you describe it at this point? Because there are certainly plenty of Palestinians who, looking at this situation, say, dang, maybe if it wasn't for Hamas, we wouldn't be in this mess.
I think most people who know the situation think of Hamas in a number of different ways, right? There's the social services side, which is in itself an entire component of Hamas, and really how it started in many ways as a movement. Albeit there was always also a political component, which is also, an aspect to it and tied to the humanitarian or social service side. And then there's, of course, the military side, which, is the ones, involved in the resistance now. I think most people engage with Hamas on the social services side. And they do so for a number of reasons. One might simply be because they ideologically or politically support Hamas and want their children to study at these schools or receive services or whatever. But I think more importantly, and more especially for Gaza, we're talking about a place that has been ravaged by the Israelis, especially since 1993, which is around the time that Hamas actually really started functioning more as a out in the open kind of political movement, although it had started in the late 80s. And the failures of not only, the lack of the inability of the world to help Gaza get up on its feet, develop an economy, develop, the kind of society in terms of economically because of the Israeli, occupation and the closures of Gaza. Combine that with the failures of Palestinian authorities since 1993 to provide services, to provide education. To me, I think about it as if a Palestinian woman wants her child, or father wants her child to go to school, his or her child to go to school and get a good education, you want to send your child to the place where they're going to learn how to read and write, where they're going to learn, like any parent around the world. And if you go talking about a government-run school, a Palestinian Authority school, where there are multiple shifts, where their teachers aren't getting paid and so they're going on strike, where the classrooms are partially destroyed or not kept up well, versus sending your child to a more private school that may be run by a group like Hamas in its social service capacity, but nonetheless is providing a good, solid education, you want your child to get the best possible education. So I think those are the way most people engage with Hamas, and we need to understand it as such. I think in terms of the elections, while indeed, as Libra pointed out, these were, by all accounts, the most free and fair elections Palestinians have ever experienced, we have to remember that's still free and fair within the context of occupation, within the context, especially of Gaza, of living in a prison.
And no matter who you vote for, you shouldn't bring upon yourself collective punishment as a civilian population. Living it to you. There are protests all around the country, this country and around the world. 60,000 in Jordan, huge number for a very conservative country. Protests right now in Morocco, in Turkey. What difference will protests like the ones you helped to organize this Saturday in New York make, do you think?
Well, the first difference it makes is it brings media attention. Like, it brings the other side of the story to the public sphere, because especially in the US, it's been totally ignored. Even when they host a Palestinian